The Entrepreneurial Journey podcast. We're talking business and building a culture that's kick-ass. Where we make it happen, grab your seat, let's have a blast. At the Entrepreneurial Journey podcast.
If you love the entrepreneurial journey, how about subscribing and giving us a 5-star review? Wherever you get your podcasts, follow or subscribe and give us a positive review so more entrepreneurs out there don't need to feel alone. Thanks. Later. Hello and welcome to the Entrepreneurial Journey podcast. I'm joined here by Chris Taylor of Pipeline 44. Is that right?
That's correct. Yeah, spot on.
Yeah. Pipeline 44, before we get into the nitty gritty, where did the 44 come from?
It's a great question, actually. So I didn't originally start this business. I came into it around about 8 months into its existence. So
Right.
the concept of it was built from 4 inbound strategies and 4 outbound strategies for social selling, which was led by one of our founders, Sam Raffling, that came up with the concept. So yeah, that together with Pipeline, which linked to lead generation, formed the company name.
Oh, right. Okay. Because I had Nick Jones on at the end of April. I don't think that's been released yet. Can't remember.
No, not yet. I don't think I've seen it.
Yeah. And he's the co-founder, isn't he, of this business?
He is, yeah. So together, him and Sam formed it, like I say, a few years ago now, and then yeah, about a year or so into its existence, I came in and have turned it into the social selling suite, which is what it's more known as the core product.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Okay. So what's your background then, Chris?
My background's a bit weird and wonderful, really. It started off I had a corporate career and
Uh-huh.
I worked for a car leasing company, customer services background.
Right.
And due to a number of things that kind of happened in my life, I was forced to kind of make a bit of a change, really. And I started to look into different, what was known at the time as get rich quick schemes was
Oh,
the
yeah.
what I was looking for on Google. I was 23 at the time, and I stumbled across a property training advertisement. So it stumbled me into the world of Airbnb and serviced accommodation. I don't know how well you know that side of
Yeah.
business, but I accidentally grew a bit of a monster in that game, and
Right.
I came out of that with a personal brand that again I kind of accidentally built. It
Right.
wasn't something that I really knew what I was doing. I was just told to document my journey online from having no properties to the 80 odd that we were managing at the time. And I built up a following for myself, which I didn't really thought was possible really. So I went from nothing to 10,000 followers on Instagram within about 3 and a bit months. I
Mm.
then built across numerous different platforms, which has got me to I think around 150,000 followers across different platforms now. And I just started to get asked, how did I do what I did? And
Mm.
honestly, from there, I reverse engineered it and fell in love with kind of like the process of helping other people do the same thing, really. So we specialize now in conversion of the followers that we build for other people. And we've realized that it's not particularly that difficult. It's just tiny, minute details that make a big difference on this journey
Mm.
to growth.
Okay, that's really interesting because it is the nut that we're all trying to crack.
Hmm.
And there are so many different approaches. There's so much conflicting information. And there are so many different packages you can buy, funnels you can, rabbit holes you can go down. I mean, it's endless, isn't it? It's absolutely endless. So, without giving away your secret sauce,
Yeah.
is there a top tip that you can give away to people now? Because we've got coaches wanting to build their audience, and obviously we want to build our audience too. What's the quickest thing you can share with us that'll get that going?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is, especially when it comes to the coaching and consulting market,
Hmm.
we sometimes fall a bit guilty of just talking about, especially on social media, about what we do. So we
Hmm.
look to provide information. Coaches and consultants tend to want to help. We're servers. We want to try and help
Yeah.
as many people as we can, give as much away for free as we can to hopefully get something back in return as a bit of a favor, really. And I think what we sometimes forget is why people are on social media in the first place. And
Hmm.
I say this in a lot of my workshops. The reason I typically pick up my phone or go on to LinkedIn or an Instagram throughout the day is either to generate business for myself
Hmm.
or because I'm bored. And
Yeah.
normally it's because of the latter, really,
Yeah.
that we tend to pick up our phones 30 to 40 times a day. And so the way I used to think about it was people weren't really on there to learn things. That wasn't the
Mm.
mindset of a user. We are on there to be entertained, to be inspired, to fill us with some form of dopamine hit, to get us talking, to share opinions. And so from a content point of view, if we're looking for growth, what I tapped into really early on was finding my voice and opinions on topics that I know the world will be interested in. And
Okay.
so with that, I had to spend a lot of time making sure that I formed in my opinion, the right opinions.
Mm.
And I talk about stuff that would get me more and more exposure. So when it comes to coaches, depending on what you coach in, let's say it's leadership that you may specialize in. There are lots of world topics going on right now around team building,
Mm.
leadership, bad management, HR issues, recruitment issues that we don't typically see lots of coaches and consultants talk about because that's not
Mm.
where their area of like speciality and passion is. However, we have to kind of put that to one side if we want growth because we need to get people sharing their opinions on our content if we want it to
Mm.
travel. And so you've got to play the game a bit, which isn't the most simplest of things to do right at the outset if you don't feel confident in getting out there. But when you start practicing it, you start to see your impression numbers go up. That means your follower numbers then go up, which then give you more credibility and more opportunity as a result of that.
Uh, there's so much in that, actually, Chris, that we could spend the next 2 hours unpacking all of that. So to summarize, the key themes then are find out what's relevant to your audience, convey it in an entertaining and interesting way without being unprofessional, leave the cat ears and the mouse nose off your posts. Um, and just keep engaging, really. It sounds as though you kind of, one of the things I bang on about to our coaches is consistency.
Mm.
Just keep turning up. Just keep turning up.
Just keep it
Um,
visible.
yeah,
Definitely.
yeah.
Definitely. We have a rule with anybody that we work with. It was the rule that I set myself and I still do it today is be the first person that people see every time they pick up their phone.
That's
And with that, we all know, I think deep down, I was listening to a few of your episodes actually
oh, thank
before we
you.
started recording, and one of the things is that I think I can't remember who it was that said it, but it was a really really good point that you had a conversation around, which was that people aren't typically when you first come into contact with them ready to buy from you.
No.
And so when it comes to marketing, it's about how do you stay top of mind to the point where they realize they've got the problem and you're the person they think of as the solution to that problem. In the
Yeah.
coaching and consulting world, that's been probably the biggest thing that I've tapped into is that I just commit to having my face out there every single day on every platform that I possibly can do, knowing that eventually someone will need what I've got to do if I'm good enough at delivering my message. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, I remember hearing that one of your episodes, and it I resonated with it because it's what I talk about a lot.
Oh, brilliant. And is it your face? This is another interesting point. Is it your face or is it usable content or what is it that people want to see?
I mean, I don't think people want to see my face every single day. I just don't give
Right.
them the choice to. But like it's the biggest thing is getting your voice out there. It's
Mm.
why I love podcasting so much, actually,
Mm.
because people listening to this will learn more about us having a half an hour conversation than they would scrolling my profile for 2 hours reading
Yeah.
what I've written. You're tapping into so many different senses when it comes when it comes to podcasting or video type content. And so for me, I always say to people, if you remove my video content away from my online social media strategy, my pipeline would be in pieces within a couple of months.
Right.
So
Okay.
it doesn't matter how much I write. Yes, that will generate impressions, but the reason why people buy is because when we jump onto a call or they watch a video or they listen to a podcast, it's very, very easy to understand if someone knows what they're talking about or whether they're
Mm.
just finding something off the latest website, copy and pasting it, changing a few words and trying to claim it as their own, which sounds bad, but it's really, really common that people just
Yeah.
don't practice their communication in a way in this format because if they do, suddenly opportunity just finds its way to you, and that's the biggest bit of encouragement I guess I give to people now.
Thanks for listening, everybody. Did you know at TriCrest we've built a kick-ass culture coach and consultant program? So if you're a business coach or consultant and you're looking for something new, add to your toolbox, or even escape the 9 to 5, join us at our next event. Links in the information on the podcast. See you there. That's really interesting because I only started this because I'm nosy. Um, and I really like talking to business owners from weird and wonderful backgrounds and from all over the world. Um, and when I started it, it was very much, it felt like a bit of a luxury, like I was just playing.
Mm.
But I think we must be about 3 years in now, maybe even longer. I can't remember. 190 odd episodes in anyway. And it's become, I now look at it as a resource for coaches
Mm.
because that's 190 entrepreneurs that I've chatted to, and they've laid bare pretty much most of the problems that they've come across. And if you're a coach consultant, you can tap into that rich resource and go, well, actually, if 110 of these people are experiencing that, then there's something I can offer to those people.
Makes a huge difference. I
Yeah.
mean, again, like when it comes to this sort of thing, you mentioned the word consistency.
Mm.
Consistency is probably one of the things I'm least good at. I
Oh,
have I
okay.
have peaks and troughs, and it's something which I'm always working on to get better,
Right.
whether that's on health and fitness, whether it's on posting social media is something that I love to do, right? So
Mm.
it's easy to be consistent at something which you love to do. But when it comes to doing stuff which we're not particularly too passionate about, it's so easy to just push it down the line.
Yeah.
I think with yours, I have so much respect for it with what you've done with your
Oh,
podcast because
thank you.
I've got my own one, which
Right.
I do interview people on it. I have great fun and great conversations with friends on there. But the biggest thing that I use it for, I'm not a brilliant writer. I struggle to communicate in a way which really showcases how I feel in written formats.
Mm.
But I love to talk. Like I
Hmm.
absolutely love it. And so my way of journaling is literally like press record and just talk about what have been my biggest challenges, what have I done to overcome them, and try to be as raw and honest as possible. And I've done that all the way since I started in business. And listening back to the journey that I've been on 5 and a bit years ago to
Mm.
now, the difference is just ridiculous when you can even just hear the confidence in my voice now.
Yeah.
It's a complete game changer. And so I do it selfishly to try and listen back to something which I think is way back, and I'm no way near where I am now. And
Right.
just a really cool concept to have. So yeah, I'm envious of your 190-ish episodes that I think I saw on Spotify earlier today.
Oh, you're very kind. Well, I don't think it's selfish to reflect. It's one of the things we encourage the leaders I work with to do is to reflect.
Mm.
And actually, it's one of the key attributes that a lot of entrepreneurs miss out on. And I don't mean navel gaze and disappear up your own backside. I mean, like properly, formally reflect and go, what did I do well this week? What did I do badly? What would I do differently next time? What have I learned from it? How did I feel about it? Get the answers, build on it, and move on. Um, and actually, that's a really good practice. And if you do it auditorily,
Mm.
then brilliant. You find a way to do it. I kind of write things out and I'll draw pictures and I'll do it that way because I'm very visual, but everybody's different.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's selfish at all. I think that's really good practice.
Yeah.
Um, so give us some highlights or lowlights, Chris, as it may be, of some of the biggest mistakes you've made, the real howlers, because you're super successful. And for people who don't know you, I mean, you are mega successful. And I think a lot of people think, oh my God, they must have some kind of special, unique thing. And we both know you don't. And
No,
that's no offense to you or
no,
anybody else who's super
no.
successful. So, what were the biggest howlers? Because people want to know that you're human.
I think I've spoken about a few big ones that have gone
Mm,
quite viral on the internet, and
right.
I'll talk about a couple of those because I think they hit home the most.
Okay.
Not everyone agrees with my opinion on it though, as well, which is
Okay.
totally fine. But
Yeah.
I back when I grew my property business, I used to be someone, and I still am, to be fair, that will trust someone until they give me the reason not to trust them
Hmm.
anymore.
Okay.
And actually, when I've kind of grown and gone through different things, I trusted people too soon.
Okay.
And with that, I made some absolute shocking decisions, which was the demise of my property business
Okay.
initially. I was very, very naive and I was very, very young and didn't really understand what I was doing at the beginning. And so I am one that always now, and it's probably the biggest howl that I had back then, but now really focus on is I took my eye off the numbers back when I first started.
Mm, mhm.
And I don't think you're taught enough about this when it comes to getting started in business. People will talk to you. I'm sitting here preaching this, right? I teach people around marketing and sales and those sorts of things. And I say it's the number one most important thing. But actually, if you're not keeping track of
Mm,
like where your money's coming from, what's going out, the importance of tax, all of that stuff, which is the most dry, boring subject in the world,
so
then
dull.
it's so easy to fall behind and
Mm,
lose track of things. And
mm,
it's not the most exciting answer in the world, but it's the thing that I really screwed up at the beginning.
mm,
And now, since learning how to do it properly, it's a skill which I paid to learn. I
yeah.
paid someone else to learn. Nick's also taught me a lot about it. But it's about getting really, really clear of the direction that you want to go into and understanding the numbers you need to hit to be able to get there. That's number one, without a shadow of a doubt. Trusting
Mm,
the right people is also a difficult one for people that are listening to this to work out who to trust and who not to. I wish I followed my gut more. So,
yeah.
like, I went against it early on because people used to tell me that I was young and didn't know enough. Like, that was
Mm,
what I used to get all the time. And so I don't know the demographic that listens to your show, but I now only ever follow what my gut tells me. If I get a
good.
feeling for it, I own it now, and that has led me in a really really good direction since I committed to it.
Good.
And then the third thing, I'm trying to pick out of a couple that are there, but the third biggest thing is getting out of my way quicker. Getting out of my own way quicker. I used to be petrified of public speaking. I used to be
Okay.
absolutely terrified. So online, I come across as a an opinionated extrovert. I'm actually the complete opposite. I have trained to be an extrovert when I need to be an extrovert, but actually, I'm someone that likes to stay in, get my head down into my laptop, and try and create something that I know is going to do some good in the world with it when it comes to what we do. When it comes to getting on stages and talking to people, I come across as confident,
Mm,
but deep down, I'm still absolutely petrified. And I used to not put myself into positions where I was uncomfortable. I used to stay in my comfort zone quite a lot. And I made the commitment when I was 24 to go and learn and jump into my two biggest fears. Number one was spiders, overcoming that.
oh, well done.
Number two was around getting on stage and speaking in front of people. So I booked onto a public speaking course, and do you know what? It wasn't the skill of public speaking that I learned. It was the skill of communication
Yeah.
and trying to get people to understand the points that I was trying to make. And getting into and learning those skills changed my life forever because
Good.
I suddenly could get people on side. I could sell really well. I could market really well. I understood the psychology of how things worked. And so I think sometimes we know there are things that we need to jump over. We need to get
Mm,
over the obstacle quick, but for some reason we can't. I held off for 2.5 years.
right.
And so I encourage like everyone now that I ever come into contact with is like we all know there's one thing that we've got to do, but we somehow don't do it. Just tackle it head on
Yeah.
because the moment you do, everything else opens up and you grow faster than ever.
Great advice. That's brilliant advice. Yeah, absolutely. Our consulting model doesn't touch the numbers. We tell all our clients to get the numbers sorted.
Mm,
Bit like you, that's not my area of skill. So we pass that on, say, look, get the best finance brain you can afford, even if it's only half a day a month.
mm,
Pay for that. Then once you've got sight of the numbers, then we can work on the rest of it and scaling
love
it.
it.
That's great. And I agree, pushing yourself out of that comfort zone is so important. I don't believe entrepreneurs should have a comfort zone because you're constantly pushing. You
Mhm.
know, once you've got used to something, well, what's the next thing? What's the next thing? Because that's how we grow and scale ourselves and our businesses. And that gut feel, it's really interesting, isn't it? I think unless you're really gifted in this way when you're younger, you don't learn to trust your gut feel yet. You're kind of a little bit confused, aren't you, as to, well, I feel something, but I'm not sure what it is. Um, and you're right, people try and go, oh, don't be daft, it's this, and you think, well, I'm only, I don't know, 20, 21, whatever it is. They probably know better, but actually you got feel spot on. Yeah, I adhere to all of that. And most of it comes as you gain experience. Um, Certainly, you know, in my first business, I didn't understand how corporate tax worked and dividends. And I got caught out massively and was like, oh, so I still have to pay tax even though I'm getting dividends. Okay.
It's,
Basic.
it's basic stuff, but no one teaches like
No,
it's not really taught. And
no.
again, like with it, I try to talk about subjects which wish I'd learned back in school. So
Yeah.
like my a lot of my content at the moment isn't really our products kind of are at a point now where they kind of sell themselves. So
Yeah.
I talk about stuff now around that I'm passionate about. And I think the schooling, we won't go into the deep topics of this, but I have strong opinions on the way that we're educated when we're
Oh,
young.
me too.
And with that, I'm trying to create different resources, different ways to be able to kind of just get back and go, look, this is what I wish I had,
Yeah.
and trying to bring some good people together with it, because I just think there's lots and lots of talent out there especially in the coaching and consulting world. People have come from 15, 20-year corporate careers. They are
Yeah.
so intelligent. And there was back in 2020, there was an absolute influx of people coming into coaching because of
Mm,
lots of different things going on in the world at that time, and they just couldn't stay in it because they just couldn't communicate
yeah.
the impact that they could make. And that was kind of how our business was born, really, because we saw lots of great people really struggling,
Yeah.
and with it, they didn't need to. They just needed to learn a certain set of skills to help them really shine. And that's kind of just what we've provided, really, is just, again, those tools for people to just to tap into to be able to actually make the difference they want to make.
And you can't access them yet because I double checked the links and your signature and they're still not live. When is this going to be live?
So the service is like the solution, the social selling suite, people can join. It's just they've
Okay.
got to go through a process that we've set up. So because it's in its beta, I speak to absolutely everybody
Mm,
that wants to join us. We've got like a bit of a movement going on with it. And the actual website, I think, goes live in a couple of weeks. We'll do a big
okay.
launch at that point. I have the Social Selling Secrets podcast, which is due to be launched in the next, I think, month, which will be good
Good.
fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, the links to everything. Currently, we've kind of got our doors and a waiting list kind of
Mm,
sitting there for people. It's the way that we've always run our launches. We're a waiting list type company, and we bring people in a kind of like a cohorted fashion, really.
mm,
And so yeah, a couple of weeks we'll have all of the infrastructure live, but people we've got over 350 odd members in there, I think, at the moment, all doing
that's good.
different weird and wonderful things.
Oh, that's good. I spoke to Nick about this and said, you know, our coaches could definitely use that and to work with you on. I know you want to get access to sort of pools of coaches, and obviously we have that across the world. So yeah, we'll definitely talk to you about that as you
Definitely.
go to launch because it's going to be so useful. We can take them so far, but there's stuff that, you know, most of our digital marketing expertise is self-taught.
Okay, yeah, fair.
Um, and or we've paid for courses or whatever, and we pass on as much as we can to our coaches, but we still know we're not experts.
Mm.
And we try and test everything that we share with them. So if it works, we'll share it with them. So yeah, I'd be really interested in talking to you about that, definitely.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
so where's it going? Where are you taking it?
So we I think when we first started this, we had a bit of a mission to kind of just make an impact in what we saw. And if you're a part of this world, right, you'll know, and you've probably had lots of conversations with coaches and consultants. It's hard for people to know who to trust
Yeah,
because
definitely.
And there's lots of road marketing and sales companies out there that I fell foul of. So I spent lots of money trying to find marketing agencies that could deliver a result, trying to find training companies that could do it.
Mm,
And I just realized that unless you're going to pay huge amounts of money, and even then they let me
mm.
down still.
Yeah.
I was like, the only way of really doing it is learning the skills yourself.
Yeah.
So like I accidentally built my audience, like I said at the beginning.
Mm,
There's lots of coaches and consultants and service-based businesses that follow me now, and I'm privileged to have them. But what I'm trying to do and what we're trying to do as an entity is try and help people realize that it's not that hard. It just needs a particular focus on tiny details
mm,
that make the difference. So every word that you use can make a difference. Every different post that you do can make a difference. Every webinar, every email, all of it has to come together in the right way to best communicate. So we've got a number of 10,000 service-based businesses that we're looking to impact in the UK. As of Monday, we're recording this in May. So on
mm.
Monday, I've got a bit of a world tour coming up to launch it in across Europe, in America, in Australia. So I'm going across all of those different
Brilliant.
countries to speak at different events and to go to different conferences. And we want to take this to all parts of the world that we've got customers in those countries anyway already, but our job is to expand into those areas with some really, really cool partners. So we're hoping that Social Selling Suite becomes a place where people come for marketing and sales truth that's
Good.
backed up by undeniable evidence that no one else can really argue with. Because that's how I've done it. Everything that I talk about is stuff that I just do, and
Right.
it either works or it doesn't, and I share whether it works or it doesn't as I go. So yeah, that's the mission. How far we get, we'll see, but it's definitely a fun year ahead. Definitely.
Busy.
Yes, very much so.
A lot of air miles.
Oh yeah, like lots of those. Lots of we go from Paris to Switzerland, Switzerland to Italy, Italy to Greece, Greece to New York, New York to Chicago, across to all the way across to LA, then into Sydney and Perth, which will be a very
Wow.
interesting tour. Yeah, it'll be an
My
interesting.
God, that's a huge, huge tour. God, I
Hmm.
hope that goes well for you. But it's desperately needed. It really, really is. Okay. And I asked this of Nick. I don't know whether you listened. Well, you won't. We haven't released it, so you won't have listened to it.
Yeah.
So, if your business was a person or was a character, who would it be, or how would you describe it?
Who would it be?
Mm,
Oh, I think in terms of what they would be like, I think they would be quite disruptive.
okay.
I think they'd be brutally honest, even when people don't want to hear the truth. We'll share it anyway. But very, very kind-hearted and caring to its core. So empathy is something which I have been very, very grateful for from lots of people throughout my journey.
Mm,
I've had lots of support, lots of help with people that didn't expect anything in return. And that's
mm,
kind of where I've wanted to build this with Nick and Sam from and the team now is that if people need an hour, they get an hour. If people need 2 hours, they get 2 hours. We work one to one with every single one of our clients. They're not speaking to a randomer, they speak to me, they speak to the team and everything in between. And so yeah, that would be the makeup of that specific person. In terms of the character, do you know what? I'm gonna have to think a bit more. That's a great question. That's a great
okay.
question. But I
Right.
will what I might do, Rebecca, I might actually have a bit of a think and I'll do a proper post around it and tag you in and
Okay.
into my answer.
All right. Well, I've got another question for you.
Hmm.
And this is about your destiny, your purpose, your dharma, the Hindus call it. What is it that you're put on this earth to do you think?
Another great question.
I'm a coach. I'm full of
Yeah,
them.
fantastic question. I again, I've said this a lot throughout my journey. I don't get a kick out of financial reward. That's something
Mm,
that I'm not motivated by, and I think a lot of coaches will resonate with this.
mm,
We vibe from knowing that we've helped someone else,
yeah.
and I've got a childhood which is I know made that in something in me.
Right.
So my biggest thing is to build up I guess a company, but actually it's a selfish thing for me to try and help people realize how good they are at what they do.
Yeah.
Because I speak to so many different types of people, youngsters, people that have been in corporate careers for years, people that are really struggling, people that are thriving. And there's so much talent that I
Mm.
speak to. I must have 30 to 40 conversations a week.
Yeah.
And there is so much potential out there. And my job is to help them communicate it in a way that helps other people understand it.
Yeah.
And that's what
Definitely.
I love to do.
Yeah. Oh, that's lovely. I had a conversation with a woman yesterday, Carmen, about that. She helps people tell their story.
Love it.
She's based in Melbourne, really clearly really good at what she does. And we both agreed that we find it's the people who are the most capable and the most talented who don't see it in themselves at all.
Mm.
And the ones that think they're great, they're not as great as they think they are. But the
Yeah.
ones that are really, really good just don't think they're good at stuff. And you're like, no, you have no idea how brilliant you are because you're in a really privileged position the way I am. I see lots of different people from lots of different industries all over the world. And so I've got good comparisons to make. And when I find a nugget, I'm like, I don't think you realize how great you are.
Yeah. It's absolutely my girlfriend is one of those people, like
Right.
one of the most talented women I've ever met in terms of what she can do. She builds websites, graphic design, and I
Mm,
look at it and I'm like, I thought I was good, but
right.
actually you look at it, but she's not as confident as she should be when it
Mm,
comes to the talent that she's got. And I see so many people like it, and it's like let's work. Let's just keep going and going
yeah.
and going and going until you've actually got the opportunity that you want. Not that you just
Yes.
deserve, but you also want, because not
Yeah.
everybody wants to be a global superstar.
No.
Some people just want to have a business that looks after them, just gives them the freedom that they're after. And do you know what? That's totally incredible when you
Yeah.
when you get to that point. You just gotta keep sharing your message until enough people hear it.
Yeah, and that's true freedom, isn't it? Having
Mm,
the business you want, like you say, whether it's a superstar or just so you can go on nice holidays and live in a nice house, you
that's it.
know, but that's it. That's the definition of success. Amazing, Chris. I wish you all the success. We're keeping in touch anyway, because we've
Yes.
got stuff to do. Good luck with the travel.
Thank you. Thank you
I
very much.
expect to see lots of lovely photos. I follow you on LinkedIn, but I must find you on Instagram. So
Yeah.
what's your thingy
It's
on?
it's Chris Taylor Online is the
Right.
username on Instagram.
Great. I'll find you on Insta Spam. I call it
Yeah,
Insta Spam.
love
Yeah,
it.
but there we go. Right. Brilliant. Have a great day. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Love to speak to you.
And you. Sabrina Maddock is former Miss Australia. She came third in Miss World. She's a former contestant of the Australian Apprentice and a amazing human being. She's warm, she's intelligent, she's absolutely on fire. And do you know what the best bit is? She's building a business in recruitment, brought her husband on board, and she's building a lifestyle business. And if you want to learn how to build a great lifestyle business, tune in, listen to Sabrina.
The Entrepreneurial Journey podcast. We're talking business and building a culture that's kick-ass.